Representative Delozier.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I just want to question one, the math that you were mentioning. You meant 33 million. The contract increased last year's payout for 33 million, and then on top of that, an additional 49 this year. So a total in the last 2 years, an increase of 82 million. Is that correct? You add them together?
No, if I gave you that impression, I apologize.
That's what I just wanted to clarify.
The current fiscal year is 33%, the one we're in.
Okay.
Next year, or 33 million,
You're right.
excuse me, additional 33 million, and then next year, 17-18, would be the 49 million.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted. We had a lot of discussion about that. I wanted to clarify
Sorry
that.
about the confusion.
My question really that I wanted to ask was, you had mentioned earlier today about auxiliary accounts within the colleges, and had mentioned that the schools like Cheney and Mansfield that are having difficulty paying their bills will have to possibly borrow from this account. Can you clarify first, what is that account, and two, what monies go into that account that it's not based in the college original
Sure.
tax dollars?
You have two forms of general operating budget. That comes out of state appropriation, tuition, and fees, and that is the operating budget itself, and it's also the reserve operating funds that are put aside by a university to cover supplemental costs, impacts, deferred maintenance, et cetera, et cetera. So if a university goes through their general operating budget, they then, over time, if there's no additional revenue, begin to eat into those reserve accounts for things they ordinarily wouldn't spend them on, and can find themselves now with essentially no general operating funds available. If that happens to a university, that university, at least for a brief period of time, could leverage a loan against their auxiliary reserves. So that's housing, that's a meal plan, the auxiliary
And they're self-funded,
activities.
correct? My understanding?
Yes, ma'am. They are self-funded, and it would be done in the form of a loan against those auxiliary reserve accounts. Now, that, of course, is that's a stretch, because I say it's tantamount to paying off a credit card with another credit card, and it's very short term, and it is a loan, and you have to pay it back. So, with several of our universities rapidly getting to that point, especially in advance of us completing the study and begin to make these kinds of changes that we're talking about, that may be a necessity for several
And
for this next year.
do each of the schools have this auxiliary where they have a surplus in these accounts? On average, how much do they, and I recognize they need to have them, so I'm not saying that it's a bad thing for them to have a surplus. How much do they typically have in those accounts so that you would be able to make that borrow?
The first question is yes, they all have it, and they have to, because they have to have reserves. For example, in housing, that's the maintenance, the upkeep, the staffing of the housing, for example. But to the second part, how much of that each of them have, I don't know, but we can get that for you. And that's why I say, even at that, it's a temporary solution, and it has to be done on a loan. So if you take money from housing in a loan, you've got to pay that money back to housing, or they don't have it available for those sorts of activities.
Is there interest charged?
Yes, whenever we do a loan, we do it straight up, requiring interest rates, et cetera.
Okay. Thank you very much. I wanted that clarification as to where those dollars were coming from, but I would be interested in what the schools have in their auxiliary accounts. Thank you very much.
We'll do that for you.
Thank you.